the second episode of our PB Political podcast. Today we have a new panel. Instead of three people, it's only two this week. We have me. I'm Miles Gollop. I'm obviously a journalist for PB Political. I do the weekly recaps. I do every other week. I have presidential forecast. We've ran out of regions, so I'm going to start doing a different panel soon. I write for Sparkman High School's journalism program, it consistently wins awards. Um, we're probably the top school as far as journalism in Alabama, and I usually write sports for them though, not politics. But I do track and field for Sparkman. I do rec basketball. I've won a couple awards for journalism. I won best sports story in the state in February. But that's me. And then also we have Lewis Fuller here. If you want to talk about yourself.
All right. Hey, I'm Lewis. I'm a rising junior at Oak Mountain High School in Birmingham. I write for PB Political. I write the Senate spotlights, and then I'll write reports on primary nights or whatever. And I might be expanding my articles soon. I'm not really sure. And so I don't really have a background in journalism like Miles does, but I'm still interested in politics, and I'm considering it as a future career choice. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about myself.
All right, and I just want to say this is the first time that I've ever talked to Lewis. We've never seen each other, so
Yep.
yeah. All right, so what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to talk about the election between Biden and Trump and whoever else. We're going to be talking about the Senate races. I mean, there's plenty of Senate races this November. A lot of interesting ones, ones that could go either way. Talking about schools reopening, about Trump's push to reopen schools versus scientists saying not to. And then we're going to touch on Trump banning TikTok, and we're going to talk about other stuff too. I just don't know what. Just whatever we feel like talking about. So let's start with the election. What are your thoughts on the election right now, Lewis?
For the election, I feel like right now all signs point towards Biden winning. I mean, according to current polls and whatnot. Of course, polls aren't always accurate, as seen with the 2016 election with Hillary and her poll results. But the issue is that in 2016, as if anyone had mentioned this in the previous episode, there were a lot of undecided voters at the time, or voters that said that they were going to vote for Hillary in polls, but actually voted for Trump in reality. But I'm not so sure this is going to be the case with Biden and Trump. I feel like Biden's will probably win because his Trump card would have been the economy, but now since the economy is in shambles due to COVID-19, I don't really think he can really pull that anymore unless there's a miraculous recovery before November. So I think all signs currently point towards Biden winning, but who knows? I mean, it's definitely a toss-up, but I see Biden winning.
Yeah, I think that's valid. I've seen some things recently where they're saying Biden has they gave him a 92% chance of winning, which I think both sides could agree that that's ridiculous. There's no way it's that high. I agree with a lot of the stuff you said about the election. You know, Trump's biggest strength, the economy, is failing. But I think most Trump supporters, they're not going to stop supporting him because of that. And I think they realize that it's not his fault. I mean, I think most Trump supporters think along that lines that COVID caused that, and that's, in their opinion, that's not on him. I've been looking at the polls recently too. It's not looking good. but again, it wasn't looking good in 2016, like you said. Off today's polls, according to CBS News, he's down 4 in North Carolina, which is a state he won by, I think, 4 to 6 points, somewhere around there in the last election. He's down 1 in Georgia, another state he easily carried in 2016. Yeah, even in some polls in Texas recently, it's kind of been he's either been barely leading or behind.
Texas is I don't know if Texas is gonna go blue this election cycle.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. There's no way. There's no way Texas is going blue.
I don't see it.
The last time Texas went blue, 1964, LBJ.
Wow.
It's just, I mean, it's been a long time. And the only reason they voted blue is because it was, it's John Kennedy, and they were sympathetic that he had just been assassinated.
Mm-hmm.
Texas is not going to go back to being blue for Joe Biden. That's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And especially since the way the Senate election is looking currently with John Cornyn up by a large margin, unless one of the Texas Senate seats is blue, I don't see Texas going blue in a general election anytime soon.
Yeah, and he won the state by, I believe, 9 points last time. I'll go check that real quick. But either way, it was pretty decisive.
Yeah, it was
the last election.
9 points. Wow.
It was 9 points?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then also, let's see. I'm going to check Georgia. The president carried Georgia by 5 points last time, which, it doesn't sound like that much, but that's still
that's
a couple hundred
pretty
thousand
decent
votes.
Considering the Atlanta metro area, which is overwhelmingly Democrat. Or it's Atlanta itself.
I've seen some polls with him down big in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, those are all states he completely shocked the world by winning last time.
I believe currently Michigan is something like 8 plus 8 points.
That's a lot.
Biden.
That is a lot. It was basically even last time.
Mm-hmm, very close.
I just don't see how voters would abandon Trump for Joe Biden. I don't think Joe Biden's any more likable than Hillary Clinton. That's how I feel.
Hillary Clinton, her main issue is that she was just not a great candidate in general. Like, no one really, not to say no one liked her, but not many swing voters really liked her that much.
Yeah.
But Biden, I don't know. I feel like he could appeal to swing voters more than her, but I don't know. His current national poll average has Biden at 50 and Trump at, Biden at 50.2 and Trump at 41.9.
I don't listen to national polls. National polls don't decide elections. It's state by state. I hate the emphasis on national polls because obviously Trump is going to lose every single national poll. Republicans probably never win national polls, or at least not in the current state that we're in. Democrats are always going to have that slight edge in the popular vote, so I'm not too concerned about that. But now I ask you, what do you think about Arizona? That's another state people are saying is going blue, and it has not gone blue. I believe, I don't know how long it's been, but it's been maybe since before Kennedy. I'm going to go check that real quick. Let's see. But yeah, one of the big reasons I think why Arizona has stayed red is because of Senator McCain, obviously being the leading Republicans for a very long time. But it has been trending blue recently, even though it has not gone blue. It still has been trending there for a while now. I'm checking to see when the last time they went blue. I know it was a very long time ago.
The last time. Oh, wow.
Did you find it?
Yeah, 1996 with Bill Clinton.
And then
That's the last time it went
I'm
blue.
looking before '96. I still don't see any losses. I'm down to 1948. It has not gone blue, other than Bill Clinton in '96, which that was a landslide. I mean, he was
Yeah.
carrying almost every state, or he just destroyed Dole. But in 1948 would have been that was the second to last time it's gone blue. Harry Truman versus
Hmm.
Thomas Dewey. I mean that's twice dating back to
Wow.
1948. But it was close in 2016. It was another one of those states that was decided by less than three. I actually have. I made a sheet a couple weeks ago that has the result of every single state in the last election and by how many points. Um, I'm gonna go get that real quick.
Okay.
But before I grab that, are there any states that went blue? I'm about to leave for a second to get my other journal.
Hmm.
You can tell everyone. Are there any states that went blue in 2016 that you think have a chance to go red?
I think in terms of states that went blue in 2016 that could go red, um, I feel like there's a possibility of Virginia going red. I mean, Virginia going blue, I mean, that was kind of an oddity, I would think, because, Virginia's a southern state and it's traditionally red, but it went blue by 5 points last election cycle. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that could flip red, but I'm not really sure about any other state at the moment.
Based on what I'm seeing in the 2016 election, the closest states for that Clinton won, she won Colorado by 5.
Hmm.
She won the state of Maine by 3. Minnesota, I just want to say, that's a state a lot of people are saying is definitely going to be blue. Not even leans blue, definitely blue. Trump only lost his state by 1 point, and
Hmm.
I feel like if voters in Minnesota, if the George Floyd protests work to the opposite effect, and
Hmm.
the people there seek law and order, which I think there's a chance Minnesota could go red. I mean, it could be landslide blue, like 10 plus blue, but I also think there's that small chance it goes red. Nevada,
Hmm.
he lost by 2 last time. New
Hmm.
Hampshire by 1, Maine by 3. I think I already said that. New Mexico by 8, and Virginia by 6. Those were the 7 smallest margins that Hillary Clinton won by. Um,
Wow, actually, so just a thought. Some of these states that were very close, between blue and red, one of the things that actually influenced that was Gary Johnson's performance in the last election cycle, which was the largest libertarian performance in history, actually. And I'm not sure if Joe Jorgensen, the current libertarian nominee for president, will be able to replicate that. Just based on some people are saying, like a lot of Democrats have the motto of vote blue no matter who, and that the fact that this is seen as a very important general election for the history of the country. So I don't think the libertarian presence in this election will be as prevalent, but who knows? Because that libertarian presence changed the outcomes of some of these elections last year.
yeah, that's a good point. I think, yeah, like you said, third party just in general is it's not looking um, quite as big as it was 4 years ago.
Mm,
Yeah, like you said, they have the libertarian candidate, but she's not polling very well
mm-hmm.
generally. Kanye West, the rapper. I mean, he's probably not even on the ballot in most states, if not all states. But I mean, he's
Might
probably.
be a ride-in. Who knows?
I don't know. I think voter turnout's important, though. I
Definitely.
think Trump supporters are proven to be more enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Whenever I look at a poll, this is what I do personally. I'm not saying this is the right thing to do. I always give Trump 5 extra points. So if he's down 4 in a poll, I say he's up 1. If he's down 5, I say it's tied. If he's up 1, I say he's up 6. Because I feel like a lot of the people who will poll and say Biden aren't going to show up to the polls. But I think the majority of Trump supporters who poll are going to show up. And I think there's a lot of people who are afraid to state their preference. And I think my personal prediction, which I'm a conservative, and a lot of conservatives think along the same lines, even though it looks unlikely. I think Donald Trump is going to win this election. The 6 biggest states, in my opinion, that are most up in the air are Arizona, Florida, Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. If he loses any of the big states in the South, like Georgia, Texas, Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, any of those 5, it's over. He has no chance.
If Florida goes, that's over.
Yeah. Any of those 5, if it's a southern state that does not vote for him, what makes you think, any other big state is going to vote for him? So to me, those 5, he must win to have a chance. But the big ones, I think the ones that are going to decide the election are Arizona, Michigan, Arizona, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. Those were all very close states. I've done some calculations. He's going to need to win 3 out of 4 of those to win the election.
Which
he could take Pennsylvania and Michigan, so 2 out of 4, or he'll need Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona. It's a hard road for a Republican in 2020, especially with polls showing that the country is trending blue. But so, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's going to be tough to win. It's going to be a tough road for Trump to win this election. But yeah, that's. Would you like to maybe shift to the Senate seats?
Yes. Lewis, obviously, he's been writing the Senate Spotlight.
Yep.
So I think you should definitely start us off here and talk about what you think are the biggest races and who you think has the lead.
Okay. One of the most surprising ones I've seen recently is North Carolina, which everyone associates to be a red state since, it's in the South. It's been a Republican stronghold for a long time. But currently, polls show for the North Carolina Senate race for Cal Cunningham versus Thom Tillis, they show Cunningham, the Democratic candidate, up by an average of 9.5 points, which I think is pretty shocking for a traditionally red state. And if Cunningham, wins the Senate seat, I would say that North Carolina would definitely be going blue this election cycle.
Yeah.
And Colorado is actually going to be another interesting one because you've got Cory Gardner, who's he's pretty popular incumbent, a Republican incumbent in Colorado, but then you've got his Democratic challenger, who's John Hickenlooper, who is a very respected and former Democratic governor, and currently polls show that well, at least for in terms of national election, Colorado is considered to lean Biden, but I would say that I feel like Gardner would be the one to win this one, but the polls aren't really accurate because the latest poll we have for Colorado is from last year, which showed Hickenlooper at 13 points ahead, which obviously isn't accurate now, which is strange.
I personally think Hickenlooper is more likely to win the seat because Colorado, it's more liberal than what it's been. They voted for Clinton, 2016. That was after, I believe, Cory Gardner was elected. I think John Hickenlooper, he's attractive to smaller suburbs in Colorado. I think would be willing to go for him. I think he appeals to the entire party, more liberals, moderates. He was former governor, and I think he was very popular as governor.
Yep.
So, in my opinion, I'd have to give him the edge.
Yeah, that seems fair, and considering that he's considered more of a moderate Democrat than any other candidate, I feel like he's favored to win that election. But I mean, it all comes down to this November.
Right. This November is one of the most important Novembers we've had. I mean, do you think the Senate could actually flip and become majority Democrats?
That I don't know. That's something because, like, for example, Texas, which everyone is predicting to go blue in the general election, but Texas, the current Republican incumbent John Cornyn, has a hefty lead over the Democratic nominee of MJ Hagar, as the average for this race is plus 10 points in Cornyn's favor. So I don't predict Texas going blue anytime soon, but I don't know. I mean, currently we have a Senate forecast section on the PV Political website, and our latest forecast from Eshawn shows Democrats having a 51-49 lead, which seems reasonable, but I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a deadlock. I feel like it could really actually be 50-50.
Wow. And if that was to happen, it would come down to whoever wins the presidency, who really has control. Because if Trump were to be reelected, then Vice President Mike Pence would have the tie-breaking vote if there were to be the Senate. But then, of course, if Biden were elected, his vice president, which we might need to talk about that later, who that might be, would have a deciding vote. So that's critical.
Yes.
So right now the Senate Majority Leader is Mitch McConnell, and he's up for re-election this year, and the Democrats are pouring millions of dollars campaigning against him in Kentucky. If you had to put a percentage on it, what would you say is the likelihood of him being unseated?
I don't think it's likely. Honestly, Mitch McConnell, he's been there so long, and he's although no one he's not particularly popular, but I don't think he's unpopular enough to where he would be unseated. He's so powerful as the Senate Majority Leader, and he's been the incumbent for a very long time, and I just don't see the possibility of Kentucky going blue. It just doesn't seem likely. Kentucky is very traditionally a red state, conservative.
Well,
and I don't see it.
I will say They have a Democrat as governor.
That yeah, I kind of
That's so weird. Like I
that
didn't realize
is
that till this year, but that's just wow. How? I don't know how
there
that happened.
there are states, they'll have like a I believe it's like a blue dog. It's like basically they're almost what like in other regions they would be Republican, but just because the South in general is very conservative compared to the rest of the nation, they're actually a Democrat. I mean, that's the case. What happened in Louisiana with their Democratic governor, although LSU football played a part in him getting reelected or getting elected because the Tigers had a very favorable football
I
performance.
remember that. I
Yep,
think you could say
and
this.
with the Ed Orgeron endorsement.
That was funny watching that and his voice.
Go
But
Tigers.
it's kind of similar to the situation in Alabama a couple of years ago when Doug Jones got in the Senate as a Democrat.
Hmm.
He's more of a centrist, I think. He kind of
Yeah, definitely.
sides. He doesn't like Trump, and Trump doesn't
Hmm.
like him. I saw a tweet once I got a notification after Tommy Tuberville, Auburn football coach, won the Republican nomination. Trump instantly he started attacking Doug Jones. He said he called him I think a terrible senator. It was super funny to look at. Like, yeah. Uh,
Okay. So I think this we could shift to the Alabama since you're obviously a Auburn football fan,
sir, I still
and
go to Bama. It's more likely I'll go to Bama than Auburn, but I am a I could never switch, even if I went to Bama. I will always be an Auburn fan for
mhm.
life.
Yep. So you're an Auburn football fan and you're a conservative. So Tuberville, I mean, what do you think? What do you think about Tuberville? Do you think
But
he's gonna win?
yes, I think he definitely will defeat Doug Jones this November. I don't think that's really up in the air. But
Hmm.
how I personally feel about Tommy Tuberville, um, I I wasn't really a fan when he was a coach. I didn't become a fan until, don't call me a bandwagon, but I first started watching Auburn football when Cam Newton was there and we won the championship.
Damn.
But the way Tubby departed us, he resigned when it was starting to get hard. I
Hmm.
didn't, I still don't really appreciate that. And he didn't even live in Alabama until it was time for him to run for the Senate. Like I don't think he's a true Alabamian. He's more of a
Hmm.
he's doing it for his own political gain. But he's not experienced. He's never run for any political
Hmm.
office, and he hasn't done anything that gets him prepared to be a senator. He was a football
Hmm.
coach. That's not like being a billionaire businessman or um, an executive or something or a lawyer.
Yeah.
He's a football coach. So that's why he was my third
Hmm.
choice for Republican Senate. First, I wanted Bradley Byrne.
Hmm.
I think he could have won, but people just don't know who he is up here in Huntsville. Um,
Yeah.
then it was Jeff Sessions, and I'm
Hmm.
surprised Tuberville won. I think maybe it's just name recognition, but
I think it was because of Sessions recusing himself during the FBI probe.
Sessions definitely would have won if the whole Trump incident wouldn't have happened.
Hmm.
No question. My county, Madison County, actually voted for Sessions, which Madison County
Hmm.
is one of the largest in Alabama.
Yeah. Just you're mentioning Tuberville leaving. But when it's hard, I noticed, which I think is somewhat of a smart strategy. The Alabama Democratic Party is attacking Tuberville for his football prowess and him leaving Auburn when things got tough and like what is he gonna do in the Senate fighting for Alabama, which I think is a very smart strategy considering how football centric the state is, as most of you listening well know. And yeah, I feel like Tuberville will win, but I feel like it's going to be closer than a lot of people say.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be. It just depends on voter turnout. But I think because it's a presidential election year, um, more people are going to turn out to vote. I think
Hmm.
Republicans are going to be inspired that they want. One second. I think they want. They're going to vote straight ticket. They're going to
Yeah.
vote straight ticket, and I think that's how Tuberville's going to win. Um,
Hmm.
if it was maybe not a presidential year, Jones would have a much better chance.
Yeah.
But Trump is very much campaigning for Tuberville, so yes, I think he will.
Hmm. Yeah, that's fair. And yeah, it's just Alabama. It is what it is. And now, the only thing that I could see Doug Jones winning is if he gains the endorsement of Nick Saban.
Oh
If Nick
yeah.
Saban endorses him,
Do you think Nick Saban's a Dem?
I think he's a moderate. I mean, he endorsed Joe Manchin in West Virginia for the Senate, and Manchin won, or Munchin, however you pronounce his last name. He won that Senate election. I feel like
Yeah.
Saban, if he endorsed Jones, I feel like he could very well win.
Yeah. That would help him. It would help him quite a bit.
Yes.
Nick Saban is wildly popular. For anyone who's listening to this, it's out of state. He's more popular than you think.
Hmm.
He's up there with the gods.
He could probably win the
Oh,
governorship if he ran.
no matter what, he could run third party and probably would win the
If he ran as
governorship.
an independent, he would win easily.
He's arguably the most popular person in Alabama. The only thing that's keeping
Hmm.
him from holding that title is Auburn fans.
Yep.
Uh,
But they
yeah,
don't like their coach very much anyway. So,
yeah.
anyways, so now we've gone over some of the Senate seats. Now, how about this is just gonna be a quick one. The TikTok ban.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty interesting. We didn't give much notice about that.
Mm-hmm.
Got a question on Air Force One. He announced he was going to ban the app, possibly by executive order, as early as Saturday, which Saturday's
Mm-hmm.
passed. Today is Sunday, and it's still up. Um, his reasoning is he said that the Chinese were stealing information from mostly young kids who are on there.
Mm-hmm.
It's mainly teenagers who use the app. Um, I personally was a little upset when I heard the news because I'm pretty big into TikTok. I have like 1,500 followers. By the way, you guys should follow me at SolarGoatMG.
Oh my.
Um, yes, I love TikTok. I make all sorts of different videos, but if it's unsafe and it threatens our national security, Trump's just doing his job. I heard Microsoft is trying to purchase TikTok from
Mm-hmm.
the Chinese company ByteDance, and Trump does not want that to happen. That's what I've heard. He might block that, but he could
Yeah,
secretly
I've heard
wanting
that.
that to happen. So he can get some more American dollars and
Mm-hmm.
finesse TikTok from China. But we'll see. What do you think about that?
Okay, so I think TikTok is definitely like a national security concern because this is fraying into what since the CCP owns it and the CCP is currently like actively committing a genocide against the Uyghur peoples in Xinjiang province, and that the fact that the CCP in general they just basically took over Hong Kong with the national security law, which, by the way, if you didn't know, makes it illegal to criticize, like to make fun of um, Xi Jinping or make fun of the Chinese flag or any of the national anthems, and people will have been thrown in jail, and then also recently, Hong Kong's election has been delayed by a year, apparently due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but we all know the real reason for that. And multiple like supporters of democracy were barred from in the election. So I think that this would be a good blowback against China because they really deserve it. They really need it, in fact. Although, I mean, as I identify as a libertarian politically, I'm not so sure about the president, like just in general, having the power to do that. But I think objectively, it's a good thing for at least national security. But yeah, that's just my take on it.
Do you remember? I don't know if you're big into sports or not, but back when the NBA Houston Rockets general manager Daryl Morey tweeted out support for Hong Kong, and then the CCP frantically called the U.S. their NBA executives, Adam Silver, saying, "You need to fire him. We're gonna block your games. You can't watch them in China anymore." That's terrible. They shouldn't have any control over what goes on here.
That's true.
And you know, I hate that so many players folded and said and criticized Maury. It's wrong. There should be no Chinese interference in America. I know it's impossible to prevent it, but I think we should limit it to as little as we can.
Also, talking about this, everyone knows about Huawei, the Chinese tech company that's very aggressive in its growth, and it's currently trying to build 5G towers in the United States, or at least planning to. So I was wondering what your take on that was, because Huawei is very kind of suspicious, and what are your thoughts about that? Them building?
Do they pronounce? Is their company spelled HUA?
Okay. Yeah, that's it.
I don't really know much about that, but I do know my dad used to have a phone by them, and it doesn't make me feel very secure with them having towers here. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, I just don't think that currently they're not openly hostile, but it sure seems like it's starting to feel that way. Like foreign powers should be having that much control over our tech infrastructure, which is very, very important. So, yeah.
All right. You want to move on to schools reopening?
Yeah, let's go for that.
Okay, so the president has adamantly pushed for schools to reopen as soon as possible, threatening to cut federal funding to schools that refuse to reopen. Scientists say no, they need to stay closed until it's absolutely safe to go back to school. My school system, Madison County Schools, which is in the Huntsville, Alabama area, our schools we're doing online for at least the first 9 weeks. That's confirmed. How is it for you in Birmingham?
Okay, so currently, so I attend Oak Mountain High School, which is in the Shelby County school system. Currently, as of today, as of what I know, we are going in person on August 13th. But I'm not so sure about that because Jefferson County, which is right just north of Shelby County, they border each other, and that's where Birmingham, Alabama is located, for those of you who didn't know. Their health officer recommended that schools go online only for the first 9 weeks at least. And currently, Jefferson County schools in general have been doing that. So I feel like it could be subject to change currently, but the model that could happen would be the hybrid model, which is where like half the school goes on one day, and then another half the school goes for 2 days, another half the school goes for another 2 days, and then like day in the middle, everyone stays home. But that's what's happening with me. So I'm just wondering what are your thoughts on yours being online for the first 9 weeks and for schools in general this fall?
Well, I think they made the right decision. I think cases are still rising and booming in several large states across the country. I think it would be ignorant to ignore the facts right now. And the facts are that
Mm-hmm.
it's not safe to go back. I mean, that's a pretty unpopular position as a
Yeah.
conservative Republican, but I think I DM'd you the other day when we were texting each other. I said, um, I'm a conservative in pretty much every area except for science. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel that right now it's just not safe. And when schools do reopen, I support any methods they use to make it safer. If they say that based on your last name, you go to school every other day or every 3 days, depending on how big the school is, and you have to wear masks and desks are social distance,
Mm-hmm.
then we should do that. I do
Yeah.
want schools to reopen, but now is not the time. And when the time is here, we need to be safe. That's how I
Mm-hmm.
feel about it.
Um, yeah, and I feel like I'd agree with that. Um, I feel like schools like they should be reopened, not necessarily in a physical capacity, but at least an online capacity. But I feel like for some of these schools that are like that they're going online only, I feel like that I'm not sure if you've seen this, but some states are giving funds that would normally be for like spending per student. Schools are online for like most of the year, and they're giving them directly to families so they can decide what they want school funds. And I'm just wondering, do you like that idea of parents getting the money that's meant for their child and they can decide how they want to school their child, whether it be a private school or some sort of micro school, which is a new thing that's actually popped up recently? I'm just curious about what your thoughts are on that.
Does that include like lunch money that they're giving to parents? I guess like
It just includes
for that
all the
week.
funding all the spending usually that would like normally that would be the cost of one child in the school system. So it would just be basically a lump sum meant for education.
Um, I think it would be. I don't think it's a good idea for me to give my position on that because I haven't researched that enough. I think that would be a. I don't want to make
Hmm.
any assumptions on that, but uh, I mean, I think it sounds like
Got you.
a good idea, but I
I
don't
was
know
just
how much it would
wondering.
end up costing. What do you think about it?
That's that's what I think that's a good idea personally because I think I mean I've seen let's see Montgomery County, which is near Baltimore in Maryland. Um, I saw recently that every single school has to close for the first term and also in Washington, D.C. And I feel like for these parents, like this includes private schools, not just, um, government run schools. So I feel like this would be a good idea for funding because, imagine what you could do for your education if the average spending per student in the US is $15,000 per year. Just imagine what you could do with that lump sum, like what you could do personally for your education
Hmm.
and teaching yourself. And I feel like it's a good idea. And personally, I feel like that's what this is just my own personal beliefs. I feel like that's what should happen in general with like public schooling and private schooling. Because think about how much better some of this money could be used. A lot of it's tied up in administrative costs, and there's so much like bloating in the school system. And I feel like this would just be like you lot per capita spending per student has gone up about 3 times adjusted for inflation. 1950, it was around $5,000 per student, and currently it sits at around $15,000 per student adjusted for inflation. And looking at test scores, which is the metric that most schools judge success by, that increase in funding hasn't hasn't made a difference
Mm.
at all. So I feel like this could be the start of something, with schools being closed for like the first term, but I don't know. That's just probably a pipe dream of mine, but yeah, it's just
That's interesting. I probably should educate myself on that. I'll have a position for next time we have
yeah.
guests on that. That's it's an interesting topic. I think it'll be debated a lot.
But in terms of reopening schools, I feel like I got off topic there personally, but just I feel like they probably should be reopened in some capacity. I feel like personally a hybrid model is probably one of the smartest ideas you can have, where you actually get some in-person instruction, because we know that online instruction is just not as sufficient as in-person instruction.
People are going to
So,
cheat for sure.
oh
Especially
yeah,
on math.
definitely.
You can't learn math by yourself.
Yeah, unless like currently what my school would be doing would be like these forms. Like they would just give us like worksheets, which I don't. It's not a good idea. But I feel like there should be some sort of hybrid model, and if not, students can opt out and do an online model if they don't feel safe, or their family is someone in their family or someone close to you is at risk from corona. So yeah.
So do you think most schools, I know every school system's different. Do you think most schools are going to be closed entirely for the first semester? We're already
I'm
out for
not.
the first 9 weeks, and I
Mhm.
don't know if it's going to be better by mid-October.
Yeah, that's the issue, because I don't know, because the current, I feel like schools won't really be able to come back in their full force until there's an actual vaccine, because schools, there's so many people in schools, and there's so many different ways for them to catch COVID and get infected and bring it to school. And recently I saw that this was a report by some professors at UT Austin, that the probability of schools with at least 500 students, for at least here in the South, which where most of our listeners are probably coming from, the possibility of there being infected people, there's, at least in Alabama, the current possibility for infected people the first day of school is at least 15 people infected with COVID-19 per 500 students.
Wow, did not know that.
Yeah.
That's important information right there. That's how can you reopen schools if the risk is that high?
hmm
I
Now that's different in some areas, of course, but populated areas, that's the risk.
personally, I don't think it'll be completely safe to go back to school until there's a vaccine. That might not be
hmm
spring.
Either there's a vaccine or there's some sort of antiviral released for treatment. But yeah, I believe the current timeline for a vaccine is what, January? Which, I mean, currently I've been following the Oxford vaccine, which is, one in my opinion, one of the most probable ones, which is months ahead of the competition. And they're currently entering like multiple, like 30,000 person testing, at least I think in Brazil. So I feel like a vaccine will be coming this winter, but until then, I don't know about schools coming back like
Mhm.
fully.
What do you think about sports? Well, high
Sports,
school sports. What do you think?
high school sports.
Yeah.
I don't know because high school sports provide revenue for the school, like especially football, and for the band, like at least at my school, it's my own personal experience. The band here makes a lot of money off of concessions for football games, which is like one of their primary fundraisers. There's no football games, there's no people there. They'll be losing a big source of revenue. Now, I don't know. I don't feel like these schools should be prioritizing revenue over like safety, but I don't know. I currently the plan for Alabama at least is for sports to come back, late August, which is when they usually do. But we don't know any other information besides that. So I'm wondering what your thoughts on high school sports coming back are.
Okay, well, what I think is, I saw what the AHSSA, which is Alabama's High School Sports Association. I saw what they said. They plan on sports to go on time. But with so many school systems in our state that are going online, I mean, how can you have football games, have sports going on when you're doing online school? If you're not doing in-person schooling, it doesn't make sense to have sports. And, I don't know if they can have a crowd of spectators like they'd definitely be losing a lot of money because I know a lot of people are not going to feel safe going. If they can't have spectators or can't even fill half capacity, it might end up just costing too much and being too much of a risk would outweigh the any money you might make. Right now, I would say high school football season looks unlikely. Not impossible, unlikely.
Yeah.
For other sports, I think it's too early to say. For soccer, which in Alabama, in the South, which is different than other areas of the country, soccer's in the spring, baseball's in the spring. My sport, I do indoor and outdoor track. I do throwing events, which are individual competitions. I don't know what's going to happen with that because it's not really a high revenue sport anyway. So I really don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. I don't because personally I like going to football games, showing my support in the student section, but I don't want to catch corona personally. I don't want to go there.
But
I
people
don't
down
want to
south,
take the risk.
anybody listening that's not from the South, people are ignorant here. They will still show up. If there was no mandates, everything would be open right now. All right, but back to you.
Yeah, I don't see spectators really being there. Honestly, maybe sports themselves actually going on, possibly, but there is a doctrine. I know this is for college where you can't put athletes at more risk than students, just in general, as a general rule. And if you're letting athletes be exposed to each other like that, but you're like socially distancing school with all these guidelines, I just don't see that happening.
All right, and football has so many bodies. There's at least I go to a 7A school, which is the biggest schools that there are. There's 40 guys on a team. I don't know how many there are, at least. You got a whole coaching staff. You got the other team, which is about the same amount of players and staff, and maybe even the band's involved. I don't know, but that's a lot of people that are very close.
Currently, my bands, this is just an anecdote, they're currently doing their band camp, socially distanced, whatever, but I've heard, that there's not going to be a halftime show or something, or they won't be able to perform it at the games, if there are games. So, I don't know. It's all very, very uncertain right now.
It is uncertain is the word of the day.
Yes, as of literally everything right now.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about everything we were going to talk about today. Is there anything else you'd like to bring up? You think is worthy of being discussed on this second?
Right now, I'm just gonna go off topic. So, what are your predictions for this for like actually college football? Do you think college football is gonna happen?
Okay. I love college football. My two favorite sports. I am a fanatic for college football and NBA. I love them to death. I'm a huge Heat fan. I'm a huge Auburn fan. I watch religiously, and it would crush me if my senior year Auburn football got canceled. Since I was in third grade, I've always dreamed of Auburn winning a championship while I'm in high school,
Mm,
or, before I am on my own. And if there's no season, that's not going to happen. But SEC came out recently and said that they're going to have a conference-only schedule. It sounds like they have a plan. I guess they have the money to do it. It looks like they're going to go on. I think college football has a much higher chance than high school football of surviving,
mm-hmm.
especially for big schools, big colleges.
Right. Alabama, in particular, gets so much revenue from
Yeah,
football.
and so every SEC school does, except for Vanderbilt. Um, but I think the season's going to happen. They're starting later too. They're starting on I think September 26th, which is pretty late. I hope so. Other sports, the NFL looks like they're going to go on as planned. MLB, their season's in serious jeopardy right now with Miami Marlins having an outbreak. I don't know what's going to happen there.
Yeah, I feel like they probably could get under control, but Commissioner Rob Manfred said that they could be closing down the season again if they don't get under control. So, yeah, sports.
NBA has a good plan though. A bubble.
NBA, the bubble is probably the best idea for sports.
Yes. I think it's very entertaining too. Watching no fans. Just like there's no advantages. It's just everyone playing. I think it's only the best teams that are there. Well, the top 22. Some of them, majority of them,
the Pelicans.
Defenders. The Pelicans are better than the Suns and the Kings and the Wizards. The Nets. Those four are just disgraceful. Should not be there. But the other 18 teams, including the Pelicans, I like watching them. It's entertaining. Very entertaining.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's going to be any virus outbreaks because they have it controlled. They're a controlled group that they inspect constantly every single day. They test them to see if they have it. So it's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm thinking we're wrapping up now. So if y'all would so if you're listening to this on wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or wherever, there's a lot of them I don't know about. So if you like this podcast, share it with your friends. Share our Instagram at pbpolitical.al, and check out our website at pbpolitical.com. If you like our stuff, follow our Instagram, like our Facebook page, follow our Twitter. Yeah. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to end the recording, and we should get it up.